session. So, namaste everyone. Today is our 16th session of Manav Vyavhar Darshan English translation reading sessions. Uh, so, we are reading chapter number 4, and so far we had Sanjana doing the first part of it, and then after that, Shubha Banerjee they did the second part of it. Then last uh, Saturday, Kuhu started with the third part of this chapter. We had divided this chapter into three parts. It is a very long chapter, right? So we divided into three parts. Kuhu is unwell today, so I am the substitute. So, so that is so you'll have to probably bear with me on. I will be reading on her behalf uh, today. So let's start today's session as I was saying. First of all, I want to express my gratitude, Kritagita towards Babaji, whose work we are actually reading together. And as I had started in the very beginning, this actually is the work which is his work and it is offered to him. Yeah, that we intend it to be like that so that it eventually uh, represents as if it is done by him, right? We want to reach that state, right? So let's see how far we can actually get there. So this chapter, the human purpose, right? So just to give uh, an overall idea uh, about this. So first thing is that this darshan posits that existence is orderliness or अस्तित्व एक व्यवस्था है ना? This existence is orderly, and to be aligned with that orderliness itself is the purpose. Okay. Existence is orderliness, and to be aligned with that orderliness itself is the human purpose. So, and this is not just one individual's purpose, it is the purpose of all human beings. Second thing that we learned is that entities of all orders of nature have purpose in this way, right? Because just the concept that existence is orderliness and to be aligned with it is itself is the purpose. So in the same way, everything that exists has the purpose, and these purposes are mutually aligned. That means that the purpose of material order is not at cross with but the purpose of human being. Purpose of plant order is not not biological order is not at cross with material order uh, or animal order. Instead, there is a these are because they are mutually aligned, so there is a usefulness and complementariness relationship between them. Then this chapter basically talks that humaneness is the orderliness of humans, and to be aligned and to remain aligned with that orderliness is humaneness, and uh, individually and collectively, that is the human purpose. So humaneness is the orderliness of humans, and to remain aligned or to be aligned with that orderliness is the human purpose. So this chapter actually talks about the orderliness of humans, right? And what is the vyavastha in humans? That's what this chapter actually talks about. So as uh, for those who joined later, I am the substitute today for Kuhu, as she won't be able to join. She's unwell. So I will be reading on her behalf. So I'll just share the uh, chapter. Just 1 minute. So Drishta says, oh no, I know. So I know you'll have to live with it. So Sanjeev Bhaiya also suggested that you could actually cancel the meeting and why you are doing it. So I can now understand that many
No,
people are.
no, no, yeah, you are misinterpreting it.
Yes.
हम्म, ठीक है. So I will take it that everybody wants it to, the show should go on. So let's start with today's session. I hope our session is interactive and so that we, and it is basically being done for all of us and by all of us. And for anything else, we should see these sessions as study together more than anything. It's not being done for other people, it is being done mm, for us only, right? So, so I'll just read out the chapter. It's page. Are you able to see the screen, Sanjeev Bhaiya?
Yes, we are. It's
Yes, yes,
visible.
Bhaiya. Yes.
Okay. So you can actually unmute yourself as and when you like, because if you are speaking, I won't hear you unless you unmute yourself. And if you unmute yourself often, then I will actually get to hear you and give the feedbacks. Otherwise, I'll be speaking to the screen, right? Which is not so good. Okay, so let me start now. All aspirations of happiness are differentiated as the acts of embracing, discarding, restraining, favoring, accumulating, and giving. What is generosity? So, which means that basically, sukha kangshaएं or the aspirations. What are the aspirations for humans? It is the common aspirations and special aspirations. That is in terms of things like food, shelter, hmm, and those are the common aspirations, and telecommunication and transportation are uh, the special aspirations. So these are differentiated by the acts of embracing, like you want to, which refers to the evaluation of the utility, right? You are think that yes, it is useful, then you embrace it. Discard it, when you basically consider that something which is not useful, then you're saying that you would discard it. Restrain it, that you basically become disciplined in terms of their using them. And favoring, you are giving these things as a favor to someone, which is called anugrah also. Accumulating, you want to accumulate these things for yourself, or giving, that is you're basically being generous. So these are the various things that you can do with respect to these aspirations. So these um, five, six activities are the things that you can do with respect to these aspirations for happiness. Embracing is refers to the evaluation of utility. Discarding is refers to the assessment of that something is not of utility. And restraining is refers to the tendency of self-discipline, right? So similarly, we can say what does favoring mean, what does accumulating mean, and what is generosity mean. So these are the ways in which we deal with these aspirations. Then comes the next one. Hopes manifest in the form of taste, thoughts manifest in the form of communication, desires manifest in the form of experimentation and behavior, and resoluteness manifests in the form of perseverance and dedication. This is the activities aspects along with attributes and intrinsic nature exhibited by man, vritti, chit, and buddhi respectively, which means the activities of hope is from man, thought is from vritti, desire is from chit, and resoluteness with realization evidence is from buddhi. So if you see that what we are talking about in this Anubhuti is the uh, uh, various activities that each of these levels do, right? So that the level of man, it is in terms of the taste that is happening, or aswadan kriya, right? At the level of thought, it is about expression of, at the level of vritti, it is about expression of thoughts for communication. At the level of chit, it is the expression of desire as a form of making the plans and uh, visualization of the things. For what do we make the plans for? In terms of how do we, uh, what do we do with the material things? That would be in terms of which the range, purview of experimentation. And what do we do with the human beings? So that is what the chit would do. And finally, buddhi, where you have the sankalp, or the uh, uh, resolve. So that is the gati kriya, or the is for that is called resoluteness. Resoluteness manifests in the form of perseverance and dedication. So if you look at the jivan that is operating, it is operating at these four levels along with atma, and each level is performing its specific tasks, right? So so that is basically giving an overview of what is happening in Jivan, where what level is dedicated to do what activity. Every sentient unit, Jivan, has perspective. An insentient atom doesn't have perspective until it develops into a sentient atom. So, which is fairly straightforward. Perspective is that ability of seeing, right? And when we see with a certain bias or a loadedness that we see. So somebody may be seeing with the uh, bias of profit. Somebody may be seeing with the bias of uh, pleasure, what is more pleasant. Somebody may be seeing with the bias of justice. Justice is also a perspective, right? Which is a balanced perspective. It can't be called a bias, but it is a perspective nonetheless. Similarly, dharma is also a perspective. So only a sentient unit has a perspective, while insentient atoms do not have the perspective. And insentient develops into sentience through. So that is another statement that is being made over here. Then the next anubhuti is saying the process that a perceiver uses through their perspectives to see the phenomena itself is worldview formation, the accomplishment from which is the understanding or knowledge. So the perceiver is the jivan or human being. The process that a perceiver uses through their perspective. Now, as we said, the perspective is the activity of seeing with this with a bias, or whatever bias it might be, to see the phenomena. Phenomena is whatever is there to be seen, right? And uh, itself is the worldview formation. So it is saying that how does the worldview get formed in a human being? It is the process that a perceiver uses through their perspective to see the phenomena. So it is now basically in this sutra, what we are learning, what are the entities involved for uh, worldview formation, right? There is a perceiver, there is perspective, and there is phenomena, and there is a interaction between them, which is resulting into a formation of a worldview. The accomplishment from which is the understanding and knowledge. So now the worldview formation is something that uh, takes place in the human being, irrespective of whether it is complete worldview or incomplete worldview. This worldview formation actually takes place, right? And this basically accomplishment from this worldview is the understanding or knowledge. This knowledge or in understanding may be complete, incomplete, but this is what takes place. So this is one statement that is being made, that this is how a human being actually operates. Knowledge alone is the basis of deciphering, realizing, and expressing about self and mutuality, which is fairly straightforward. That knowledge is the way that humans actually decipher, realize, and express about self and mutuality. Mutuality means other entities, other apart from self. Self is what one is, right? So knowledge is the basis in uh, by which a human being deciphers, realizes, and expresses about self and mutuality. An awakened human is enlightened to their being and the being of entire existence, which itself is referred to as self and mutuality. So the clarity about what is self and what is mutuality is when is all awakening is. Awakening is to be clear about what is what. Is about standing on oneself and surrounding. Okay. Is my voice audible? Because my phone, my internet connection seems to be saying that something, an
It is
issue
okay.
here.
It
Is
is, it
this?
is, yeah, it
It's
is
okay.
normal. It is good.
Okay. Okay. Then the explanation of one of the explanation over here is the perceiver receives the signal of their environment as complete, incomplete, form, attributes, intrinsic nature, dharma, union, separation, activity, process, result, consequence, and development decline through their worldview only. Now, this worldview that got formed in oneself, then this becomes whatever signals that come to a human being from their environment, whether they basically perceive them through that worldview. So this worldview may be a materialistic worldview or idealistic worldview or a coexistential worldview. So a worldview is the screen from which a human being actually sees the world, right? So that's the statement that is being made here. The study of the sentient unit or Jivan cloud is the study of the activities of Man, Vritti, Chit, Buddhi, and Atma. So it's fairly straightforward. So basically, that's quite a central proposition about this darshan, that Jivan or the consciousness is essentially an entity and an atom and constitutionally complete atom, which is a combination of five things within the order of subtlety, that man, vritti, chitta, buddhi, and atma, and together they are being called as Jivan cloud or Jivan punj. Okay. The classification of inhumaneness, humaneness, and higher humaneness has been done earlier, differentiated by their intrinsic nature and behavior. Humankind is seen in the following five categories. Inhumane humans are in two categories: one, animalistic human; two, demonic human. The animalistic human primarily exhibits servileness along with treacherousness and cruelness in their work and behavior. The demonic human primarily exhibits cruelness along with treacherousness and servileness in their work and behavior. So if you look at it, these two that Babaji is calling them as inhumane humans. So there is one whole category, that one people, that human beings who basically operate without understanding or without the understanding of the existence. They are limited in their consciousness, and that is basically called inhumaneness. And there basically it's being defined as two categories: animalistic human and demonic human. So animalistic human are comparatively servile, while demonic humans are cruel. So these are not fixed categories. Even those who are actually servile today can, given an opportunity, can become demonic tomorrow, right? And those who are demonic in certain circumstances might actually exhibit the servile character, right? So this is a level of consciousness that basically one has, where one is being aggressive, another is being servile, and it is just like animals. Like you see that animals also, there are some are aggressive, like tigers, lions, and there are some are more submissive in nature, like deer and cow, and these are typically more submissive in nature. So but what Babaji is actually looking at it is that he is looking at the nature of the people without understanding is actually similar to that of animals, right? And that is how basically he has categorized them as Pashu Manav, Rakshas Manav, animalistic human and demonic human. And the third is humans with humaneness are in one category. Okay. In humane perspective is justice, dharma, and truth. Humane propensity or manviya vishay is progeny desire, wealth desire, and reputation desire. Progeny desire is for the desire for having children. With more number of people should be with us. It's a humane desire. Wealth desire is also the desire for material prosperity, right? That is also a humane desire. And reputation desire, that people should know our name for the good that we are doing, right? So this is something which you see, it is a little different from the idealistic perspective, where um, pursuits of these things has been called as a bondage, while over here these have been called as uh, uh, have been called as humane, and we are not called as bondage, right? In fact, after one becomes free from the bondage of delusion, they they become truly capable of pursuing these desires. These are called humane desires, which are completely social in nature. And in fact, it is not possible to form a society without these desires. Then comes the humane intrinsic nature, that is comes under the three categories: fortitude, courage, and generosity. So I think to some extent this was covered earlier. So fortitude is to have the pers have the perseverance and dedication in justice. Courage is to basically devote one's energies for getting justice for others. And generosity is a step further, right? I think Sanjana talked about these things in fairly good detail, right? Where she's basically said that generosity encompasses fortitude and courage both, and it basically says that devoting happily our all our wealth and resources for uh, the comfort of others, right? So that is for happiness and comfort of others. If you look at it, this is how basically it has been defined, that uh, the perspective, propensity, and nature of human. So as I was telling that this chapter is about the human purpose, and the human purpose is about uh, what it uh, takes to align oneself with the orderliness of humans or humaneness. So this chapter actually talks about humaneness. It defines what is humaneness. So humaneness is not left as a vague thing, right? When we say that इंसानियत होनी चाहिए, they should be humane, right? इंसानियत आदमी का धर्म है. We see all those things, that humaneness is the true religion of humans. But what is it exactly, right? So this actually articulates it, is in to the T, right? That this is what it is, right? Okay. So then comes the Ati Manviyata Pun Mano, higher humanly humans. So there is what is being said is that uh, being humane is to be aligned with the orderliness of humans, and higher humanly humans. There are so possible to actually be in the status which is higher than humans also, and who actually are able to guide the humans, and are able to teach humans, right? Inspire humans. Those are called higher humans. So these are into two categories: deific human and divine human. Dev Manav and Divi Manav. So the perspective, propensity, and intrinsic nature of higher humanly humans are as follows. The perspective of deific humans is primarily dharma with justice and truth. Okay. And propensity of deific human is reputation, desire. And the intrinsic nature of deific human is primarily kindness, grace, and compassion, along with fortitude, courage, and generosity. So if you see that, that is, while the humans, the perspective was primarily justice, here the perspective is primarily dharma. That is the understanding of righteousness. It is about understanding the complete orderliness of so deific humans are those who have the understanding of society and are able to guide the society, right? So those, so it is a natural hierarchy. So if you see that in nature, Madhyas Darshan is proposing that there are actually natural hierarchies in in existence, and these natural hierarchies are not exploitative hierarchies. These are nurturing hierarchies, and these nurturing, just like uh, uh, so a deific human does not exploit the human. Instead, they nurture the humans, right? Divine humans similarly nurture the deific humans and also humane humans, and they also provide the guidance to those who are inhumans. Inhumans are not, is inhumanness is not a permanent condition. It is basically, uh, even in the person who is exhibiting inhumane nature, the inherent expectation or the natural expectation is to be orderly, right? To be truthful, to find happiness. So always the deific human and divine human and human will appeal to the natural expectation of uh, of a human being, right? So so that they can also become aligned with the orderliness of humans or become humane. So that's an important thing, I feel. So it's not that these are not permanent labels or the tags that we are basically going to carry on our head, that okay, we are animalistic human and we are demonic human and we are going to be that way for our life. No, that is not. So darshan actually is giving that classification because it is the task of darshan to see the reality and classify. But these are not the permanent classifications. This may be the status, but the tendency and the directionality is what actually matters. So then the
Yeah,
perspective of
sorry to interject, but as we are reading this, suddenly, it appears that whatever we talk about purakta or complementariness, okay, this is
Mhm.
exactly what is this, this classification. So the more developed is complementary to or for the less developed, right?
Definitely. Yeah. That's the idea, right? And so one is that there are actually distinctions and differentiations, and these differentiations are having the relationships of complementariness. And so that is something which basically is the reason for doing this classification. How else do you actually identify the values such as gratitude, glory, right? So this is the only way when you basically identify the excellence and appreciate that, right? So somewhere basically it challenges the uh, rabid democratic ideals of equality, right? So somewhere we actually uh, tend to say that everybody is equal, and in that flat world, we don't have the idea of who to respect, and we somehow this world, uh, the flat world of democracy, somewhere does not even have the place for respect, right? It is basically becoming value free as well. So what I was trying to say is that there are actually natural hierarchies in nature, right? So you say that when you say the biological order is more developed than material order, animal order is more developed than biological order. Deluded knowledge order is more developed than animal order. So there is a natural hierarchy over there. And if you look at it after that, a humane human is more developed than uh, and a uh, deluded knowledge order. So that is how basically you see that there is a natural hierarchy and there is a relationship of complementariness, right? So in this chapter of the human purpose, it basically highlights I this differentiation in the human beings. Not identifying this differentiation would be at our own peril, that we would actually be living without values, right? So, uh, the perspective of divine humans is ultimate truth. Propensity of divine human is ultimate truth in the form of coexistence. Intrinsic nature is primarily compassion, kindness, and grace, along with fortitude, courage, and generosity. The five categories of humans described above behave and exercise authority over those who are less developed than them through inspection, examination, and survey. Right? So that is something which is important, right? So basically, uh, those who are so the thing that I talked about, the natural hierarchy, right? So once I remember, I was in Achoti, and Babaji was also visiting over there. And there, the Chief Minister, Raman Singh ji, had come over there, right, to meet him too. And there he basically uh, told him that you have your ways of getting things done and I have my ways of getting things done. So he said कि आप लोग अपने आमला का उपयोग करके काम को करवाते हो, राज्य की शक्ति का उपयोग करके जो है काम का काम को करवाते हो, मैं जो है अपने तरीके से काम को करता हूँ. मतलब that's, if you look at it, all the people, all of us who are actually associated with him, there is no uh, nothing apart from inspiration and voluntariness that actually is binding us together, right? So if we are able to, there is, what exactly is this bind? There is no uh, other thing that is actually holding us together, right? Holding us with him, apart from the inspiration that he gives, the guidance that he provides, right? It's so that is how basically it works with the divine human, deific human, humane human. They actually become nurturers for others. Okay. Adhikar, or the authority. Authority is the potential ability and receptivity to provide guidance to others according to their holistic perspective for utilization, righteous utilization, and nurturing. Right. So the adhikar is an important keyword in darshan. So we see that, um, like we um, so adhikar is something that you is more like a capability, right? So you have the adhikar for something, that means you have the ability to do that thing, right? So it is the potential ability and receptivity to provide guidance to others according to their holistic perspective for utilization, righteous utilization, and nurturing. Okay. So humaneness is a adhikar, right? So to be able to live in a humane way is an authority that you actually get after having attained certain level of understanding. Then you have the adhikar or the authority to live like a humane. After you have gained a certain level of understanding and evidence, then you have the adhikar to actually live like a deific human or Dev Manav. So these are not something in that basically somebody gives you. Like if you look at how the power centric rule actually provides the rights, it's like there is an high authority which basically provisions you certain rights, right? And it can actually take back those rights whenever they want. Like for example, when emergency was there, then all the fundamental rights were taken back. So that means that rights are actually provisioned by some higher authority. You otherwise naturally do not have the right. So what here it is being said is that adhikar is being seen more like an authority, that you have a certain capability in you. Nobody can take that capability away from you, right? So if you have the adhikar of being deific human, then nobody can take that adhikar away from you, and that is how you that and your living will actually always manifest that, right? And you will always be an inspiration for those who are lesser in capability than you, right? So just thought I will bring that to the notice. Accordingly, humans
Bhaiya,
become.
just 1 second. Shubha Didi
Hanji.
has asked a question in the chat box. So, what is
Mhm.
meant by uh, truth as propensity? So, maybe it came a couple of anubhutis earlier. If you want to handle it
Hanji.
now.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing. The truth as propensity, Didi, means benevolence or upkar. So that is the for Divya Manav, truth as propensity means, in terms of activity, it would mean benevolence or upkar, which is actually enabling others to be like oneself. Say uh, if you know how to do something, making other person also enable that person like yourself, right? That is upkar or benevolence. That is the uh, truth propensity. So propensity is the word that we have used for vishay. Yeah, vishay is something. where our mind remains engaged, right? So that is the thing. Like, for example, somebody who is an animalistic human, their mind remains engaged with the four instincts all the time. So while a person who's a humane human or manav, their, their mind will remain engaged all the time with justice, right? So justice becomes their propensity. So wherever the mind remains engaged, right, that is what is propensity. So in case of divine human, the mind remains engaged with truth. That is, in terms of activity of truth, it would be uppkar.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ved.
Ji Didi. Accordingly, humans become capable of manifesting indivisibility and universality upon awakening because the developed have the natural authority to inspire the undeveloped, whereas only the study of the developed is possible by the undeveloped. So this is again the talk about the natural hierarchy that I was talking about. Okay, just 1 second. Yeah. Yeah. Based on the above analysis, at the root of the world suffering from fragmentation lies the need in every human to understand their own value. Because it is not possible to muster the strength necessary to study existence if one's own evaluation is incorrect. For instance, without comprehending the value of 1 rupee, it is pointless to count any further. Similarly, without understanding the value of 1 paise to 99 paise, there is no evidence of knowledge of 1 rupee's evaluation. So so we saw what it was probably read by Drishta in the beginning of section, in the beginning of before we started on chapter number 1. So Babaji there emphasized on the need for self-evaluation, right? So need for self-evaluation is first, that you basically need to identify where you stand, right? If that self-evaluation is not there, then it's not possible to actually study. So I remember once Babaji actually said that कि पहले ये तय करो कि समझ चुके हो या समझना चाहते हो. First you decide whether you have understood everything or you want to understand, right? अगर समझ चुके हो तो उस तरह से बात करो, और अगर समझना चाहते हो तो उस तरह से बात करो. If you want to understand, then you talk in that way. If you have already understood, then you talk in that way. So he would actually make your, it's something which I feel is very important, that you make your position honest, very clear that what exactly is your position, from where you are. That honest admission is very important for making the study to happen. So once we actually acknowledge, truly acknowledge, and that we are in the position for wanting to understand, only then can the study happen. Before that, the study cannot happen. We will actually be in our own assumed state, right? So this is something that this sutra also tries to say, is that uh, if you there this whole darshan is talking about cohesiveness or ek sutrata in humankind, right? This cohesiveness can be achieved only when everybody achieves humaneness. And before that actually happens, we need to be able to listen to each other. And who do we listen to? Who need to be listened to? Somebody who is higher value, Otherwise, there would be cacophony. Everybody will speak their own thing. So to be able to have cohesiveness in the humankind, first we need to actually have our own self-evaluation. And without self-evaluation, there is no possibility of listening to each other, right? Or a higher value, a lower value listening to higher value. That will not happen unless the one who is at the lower value recognizes that I am at the lower value. So this is something which is may sound very challenging to the person who holds the democratic ideals to the most. But here, what I am trying to actually say over here is that education is not possible without an act of kindness and compassion. And when you actually have a kindness and compassion and grace, it requires us to be in the recipient state, right? Education, to study, you need to follow, right? Study is not about leading, study is about following. Yeah. Adhyan is about not leading, it is about following the teacher, right? It requires some humility. Yeah. And unless that humility actually comes, no amount of reading would help. So that is something which is this sutra actually tries to convey. Therefore, self-evaluation is the first and foremost step for humans from the point of view of their own development. This itself is the uniqueness of knowledge order. Okay, I think this is straightforward after what we discussed. The study is accomplished only for reality, actuality, and verity. It has become possible to study all units of nature contained in the omnipresent reality through classification. This can be studied as four orders and four planes. There is provision for the study of activity, that is nature, which is understandable in the form of development progression, development, awakening progression, and awakening. Along with this, there is a need to study the form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma. The four orders of nature are evident in the four planes. The study of development or constitutional completeness is absolutely essential. Jivan is studied in the form of a developed unit, wherein awakening progression and awakening become clearly evident. So this paragraph actually kind of gives the syllabus of the study altogether. That okay, what all is there to be studied? There in Darshan books we find at many places he tries to sum it up again and in many ways that okay, this is all it is there to be studied, right? So this is one such place. So if we look at it, he for basically he defines that okay, what does development mean, and from that reference he says what does development progression mean? What does awakening mean, and what from that reference describes what does awakening progression mean. So that is how basically all the presentation has been done, right? And then if you look at the uh, for the four quadrants that he describes in units of nature, the form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma, while form and attribute becomes more like a tangible part, and the intrinsic nature and dharma are the intangible aspects of the reality, right? Or the inherent part of the realities. These are equally reality, but they are not the tangible. Like dharma is not something that you can touch and feel, right? but a form and attribute is something that you can touch and feel, but they are still the reality, right? So this is something that that is one structure that he basically tries to say, describe. Then he talks about constitutional completeness, that is Jivan, that is studied in the detail. That is because that is quite the central piece of this darshan, is the study of consciousness, right? So which I think is once that piece is kind of figured out or has been studied well, then everything else starts making a lot of sense, right? So I think that is quite an essential piece, right? And um, okay, so we will move further. In such a study of consciousness development, mere description of existentiality is not sufficient to comprehend it, because the seeker has no prior notion for inferring it. Here, logic is necessary and deployed to establish the desired objective in seeker's imagination, serving as a form of preparation. So what is being said is that one, this for the consciousness development. So there are two levels of consciousness that one is really talking about. One is the consciousness level of animal consciousness, where one has not developed the capacity to see the reality as it is, right? Or to see the existentiality, right? And you are only seeing in terms of uh, in the sensory awareness or logical awareness is what you are having, but you're not having the existential awareness. So what he is saying is that it is uh, if suppose he were to only say so first thing that he says that existentiality can be described in words. Okay, that is the first line of that he is taking. Second thing that he is saying is existentially can be described and can be reasoned also. You can actually logically explain. So he's saying over here that the use of logic is necessary because the one who is trying to study doesn't have any prior notion of what existentiality is. So that actually use of logic actually helps in building an inference in the mind of the person to actually have an idea of what the person with realization is talking. Okay, so I hope that I was able to convey this particular point, which is an important point, that uh, this is a link between the one who has the realization and the one who doesn't have the realization, who is wanting to study. The one who doesn't have the realization, he is only having his imagination and reasoning capacity. So one who has the realization, he has the reasoning ability, plus he has the realization also. Now, in order to have the link between the two, this person presents his realization with logic. So with this logic, this guy who is trying to understand, the student that is, has a basis now, or what over here we are saying is to, it is a, it serves as a form of preparation, या उसकी पृष्ठभूमि बनती है, right? What you do is by anukaran, anusaran, etc., is to build a preparation for to actually live like a humane conduct, right? So that humane conduct requires a certain existential understanding. Preparation ground for that is logic. Okay, so there is no question on that. So let's move further on this. Okay, this process has three stages. One, study, second, experiment and practice, and third, realization with evidence, which itself is accomplishment and success. So here, so this is the process of reaching to realization, right? That first stage is study. Second is that whatever you have studied, right? you bring it into practice. That is, you basically practice in your living. To experiment and practice together is abhyas. And then finally, realization with evidence, so which is the accomplishment and success. So these are three broad stages, so to say, that he basically says. So study, if you look at it, would be the initial stages about listening and then deliberating over it, right? Reflecting over it. So these are the two stages for that, so that you have an overall comprehension of what is being said, right? So with that, you arrive at the conclusion about that, okay, this is how the reality is, and this is how one ought to live. And once you have that as a result of that study, you go into the stage of experiment and practice. That you base, where do you experiment and practice? You practice and experiment in your family. You don't actually set up a lab for studying, practicing humaneness. For practicing humaneness, you need to only go back to your home, right? So that is, so basically, so experiment and practice, it is about, so it's about identifying all the things that you had read. Now you need to actually map them to your place of living and see that, okay, this is what utpadan means, this is what exchange means for my context, right? And then actually see that the positioning of within the society and your own positioning with your own relationship to identifying with the distinctions and differentiations that are there. Uh, uh, so because uh, logic can actually build you only to a certain level of clarity, but the next level of clarity actually can happen only by engaging in the experiment and practice, right? Only then the finer details of that actually open up, right? So that actually takes us to the position of having the intuitive understanding of what is being said, right? And finally, it basically reaches the stage of realization with evidence, right? So the study of development and awakening is crucial for humankind's survival. All humans have an inherent thirst for understanding. The evidence of this receptivity's presence in all humans is that the absolute truth, relative truth, and objective truth is always studyable, understandable, and realizable in a logical way, which itself is the meaning of study, right? So I think there are some heavy duty keywords here. So I'll just quickly go over them. So there is some absolute truth of sthiti satya, right? This is the nature saturated in omnipotence. That is the absolute truth, right? Relative truth is how one entity is with respect, one object is with respect to other object in terms of direction, right? Uh, what is higher, what is lower, that is relative truth. And then objective truth is that all the four dimensions that we talked about of reality, like their form, attributes, right? Intrinsic nature and dharma. So, so we can move on. It has been ascertained and determined that humans are naturally in orderliness. And it is not possible to live in orderliness for animalistic humans and demonic humans who are less developed than humane. So this is like a conclusive statement that basically can say that it's passing a judgment or saying that do whatever that you might. It's not possible for animalistic humans and demonic humans to live in the orderliness who are less developed than humane humans. The deific humans and divine humans being completely awakened are more eminent than human humans. Their realization manifests in human tradition in the form of realization evidence. This realization evidence embodies humaneness in work and behavior and becomes apparent within the family system and world family system. This is absolutely necessary. Accordingly, with the perspective of coexistence, it has now become feasible to recognize and evaluate humaneness in all aspects of behavior, along with recognizing and evidencing realization evidences in the system. So here we are saying that two kinds of things. One is that you need to have the evidence of humaneness in all aspects of behavior. That is, your systems need to become humane, that it needs to become basically justice-based systems as against power-centric based systems. And second is that evidences of realization need to be there in the system, which means that enabling uh, the evidence of one person making enabling other person, that is what would be the realization evidence, right? So this one is that there needs to be systems in place with justice, and second thing is there need to be realization evidence, right? Okay, that people enabling other people. The propensity or the tendency of divine human is the ultimate truth in the form of coexistence. Yeah, we talked about a little on that. So, omnipotence is uniformly existent everywhere. The activities of sentient and insentient nature are always there in existence. From this, we learn omnipotence at the root of every activity is existent at every place. For the same reason, there is a possibility for the existence of many divine humans. So one of the things that basically uh, uh, it is being said here is that it's not because an activity is there and there are it's not activity is always in multiple, so every entity is that kind of entity is there because existence is infinite. At every level it is infinite, right? So it means that if you have one divine human, it means that there is a possibility of many divine humans also, right? So that is a simple logical statement. Omnipotence is uniformly perceptible everywhere, right? It's like everywhere we see it in the form of, perceive it in the form of space, right? Empty space around everywhere. Omnipotence is uniformly understandable everywhere. Humans who attain divine humanness anywhere on earth, that is, at any place, then all of them have the same realization and they become a source of inspiration for undeveloped humans in the same way. This itself is the basis of all humans attaining the understanding of coexistence everywhere through the way of study. Okay. So I think this is straightforward only, that whoever anywhere attained the divine humanness, then they would have the same realization and they would be the source of inspiration for others in the same way, right? And that is how basically uh, those who are uh, in the position of divine humans or their acts of divinity will be in terms of enabling others, right? And this is how the society that we are talking about, that awakened society or undivided society or indivisible society is will actually come about. Deluded humans of knowledge order have selection and taste activities in man, analysis and deliberation activities in vritti. एक minute. Activities towards pleasure, health, and profit in vritti, and visualization activity in chit. These activities are based on the body and constitute the 4.5 activities of delusion. So we have heard about these 4.5 activities. So saying that Jivan would have only partial activities and the remaining activities will remain dormant. So if you look at it, that uh, there are two parts, so to say, of Jivan that we are talking about. One is the part of conscience, and the other part is about sensitivity, right? So if we sensitivity is to do with deal with the mechanics of living, right? In terms of how to run the body or gain takes inputs from the sensations of that happen in the body, observe through all the five senses how they work, and then based on that it comes into the memory, and you basically are able to visualize, you are able to do the reasoning of it, right? And so what Babaji is saying is that living in the purview of this is not humane. Humaneness is not possible in the purview of uh, just sensory recognition or in the purview of sensitivity. It's possible to live, but it is not possible to live humanely in this. So there is a need for actually activating the dormant functions of Jivan, which are being called as the causal activities, as the conscience, right? Which are also referred to as the activities of knowing and believing, right? So these are the activities of buddhi and atma, so which requires the activation, or which requires the inspiration to become activated, to because there are actually their presence leads to the inherent natural expectation for harmony, orderliness, justice, etc. Their natural expectation is there, but the capability is not there. The conscience is not activated. So this activation of conscience can actually happen when one who has that activated inspires us, inspires our imagination, or rather we become inspired by that person's evidences of living with conscience, and then align our actions, thoughts, uh, and and by that actually become able to see what that person is able to see, right? So this is how basically our from 4.5 activities that we are saying that one becomes able to uh, transcend to the all 10 activities, right? With realization evidence in Atma, the first orbit, Buddhi, of Jivan becomes fully active in divine, human, deific, human, and humane. As a result, all activities of Jivan become evident with the realization-based method, right? So it is important to note here that Manav, Dev Manav, or Divya Manav, right? All these three, deific human, divine human, and humane human, all of them, all three of them have the realization. So realization is complete and is common in all of them. The difference is in terms of its manifestation or its evidence. Okay. So in the divine humans, the evidence is the maximum, and then human, it is the evidence is at the initial stages, that you have the evidence of justice, and there in deific human you have the evidence of dharma along with justice, and in divine human you have the evidence of truth along with evidence of dharma and justice. Okay, the capacity of getting inspiration is there in the particles of every atom because all particles are saturated in omnipotence, which is fairly straightforward. The insentient body of a sentient unit of knowledge order takes the nourishment aspect out of the result of tendencies with sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell senses. So it means that but we have these senses which are controlled through Jivan, and then our body actually operates and gets the nourishment. The body gets the nourishment while the jivan gets the uh, taste of these senses, right? So that is the thing which is being said to give the differentiation between jivan and body, right? Okay. The sentient unit or Jivan only experiences the art and knowledge aspect in the form of happiness. So it says that in the interaction of Jivan and the body, it is the Jivan who that experiences the art and knowledge aspect, but the body experiences or takes in the nourishment aspect, right? So just to give the distinction between Jivan and body, Jivan is something that is only dealing with knowledge, while body is only dealing with physical chemical aspect of things, right? And brain is the point of link between jivan and body. um, the, the cause of awakening of the sentient aspect is sanskar, right? So sanskar is the impression. We will talk about the definition of sanskar in the coming paragraph. The cause of statuses of insentient aspect is the adhyas or species conformance, which persists until constitutional completeness. So just like impressions are one, so we are talking about there is an immortal entity called Jivan that carries the impressions of the whole lifetime and carries it forward to the next life also, right? In the same way, there is a something that carries on in the body also as impressions, right? Like for example, the kind of nose that I have, my grandfather also probably had the same kind of, or not probably exactly had the same kind of nose, right? So basically, which means that there is something in the insentient world which actually is carrying the impressions forward, right? And that is something that is being called as adhyas. So adhyas is the concept that we need to understand, that similar in the way that we have continuity uh, from generation to generation in conscience aspect or the sentient aspect, there is a way of continuity in the insentient aspect also, and that is called adhyas, right? Okay, so we will, there are some sutra that we will see in more detail, right? And I think what once I remember Babaji said that each of the sutra over here is worthy of writing a PhD on. So today I was talking to Kuhu, and he was saying that it is very loaded, this book, that each of the pages actually very loaded, and it requires it's very heavy. I said, yes, it is so. Yeah, it is so, and probably something that we will need to evaluate it going further, whether we are doing justice to this by saying 7 pages a day, or should we reduce it to 2 pages a day, or change the format. So, I mean, still open about how we should go about it. This is an experiment only, and I see that this as a more of an exercise of our reading together, right? and we'll see what basically comes of it. Yeah. Okay. Sanskar refers to acceptances towards completeness, which itself determines the fate. Should we? I think we should stop here. How many pages are left? We were supposed to have completed this chapter today, but it looks like it'd be better off to stop right now and have some open discussion and resume our this session in the next uh, on the Saturday. Yeah, if that is all right with everyone.
That's okay, Bhaiya, your call. I think around 4 pages are left on this chapter, so next session it will take.
जी 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 भैया. So if there are any questions or anybody would like to make any remark, anything that I could have done better. I know I'm a substitute guy, but this is the best that I could do today. Spencer, is this your turn next? Your and Astel's turn next time?
Yes, we're getting ready for next time. So
Yay!
yeah. No, I'm actually looking forward to it. Like not feeling like 100% confident, but this whole process has been very nice for me. And always having something, just knowing that I have a session to present, it keeps me reading and preparing. So it looks like I'm definitely motivated by that fear of presenting. But it's not too bad. So no, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'll start the chapter and Estelle will I'll start the first 2 sessions. Estelle will do the next ones. So
Excellent. Excellent. I like the spirit.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Kuhu,
Mhm.
I missed the beginning. She was not feeling well or not feeling prepared, or what was the situation? Or
Yeah, she's not well. She was having fever. Yeah.
okay,
Uh, yeah, she also said that she found it very heavy and very difficult. Which is understandable, right? If
totally.
suppose somebody asked me to uh, present Jung's philosophy by just reading it, and I would basically really be struggling. So compared to that, I think this darshan is relatively straightforward, right? Here it is talking about what is humane, what is inhumane. But it does require you to, because here we are kind of committed to the text that is written by Babaji, right? And it is not exactly in the most, in the way that we read in this 21st century, right? So, so we are actually familiar in reading in a kind of structure, uh, and he has written it in a certain way, and so it takes some time before we get into the groove of the English translation in a way is providing a bridge between what he is saying and where we are coming from. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I can relate. That's for sure.
Okay, good. Anyone wants to say anything? Shubha Didi, is this all right?
Yes, Priya, I just had that question because I always find it difficult to explain truth. I mean, how can I
Mhm.
explain that what I don't know, haven't realized. So I asked that question. But your explanation was really good. Although I feel bad for Kuhu, but I felt good that you are explaining.
Okay, thank you. I take that as a compliment. Okay, I will tell Kuhu about all of us that we feel that she should get well soon,
Yes.
and hopefully she will be able to do the remaining of the chapter. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I will basically do it. Yeah. Okay, so if there is no other questions or any comments, maybe we can close today's session. Drishta, you want to say something?
No, I really enjoyed the session today. I can't really speak either,
Oh,
but
you have sore throat. Okay.
uh, I really enjoyed listening. I think I felt really bad for Kubu, but I
Okay.
was also very glad that we got to hear your explanation, and Sanjeev uncle also joined in because you thought
Yeah.
about the section so much, probably while translating it. You know exactly where each word is coming from and why chosen to put it there.
But when you guys read it, then we know that basically how it is getting across, right? Which is actually very much more valuable. Yeah. So we could have done it in the one format that initially we thought we will do is that we ourselves will present the whole thing. But then it would have become a completely one way, and it would be like we trying to evangelize, or we trying to show tell other people what we have done, right? But instead, what the design, what we thought that we should actually engage you, because you are pursuing this in your own way, and are so if you read it, it actually gives us a lot more value. So the way that we were seeing is that all the people who are reading it, they are deeply engaged in the adhyan and abhyas uh, of Madhyas Darshan in their own ways. So if they actually read it, they will provide us their perspective, right? And this would be much more enriching, and we can actually uh, learn much more in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is also valuable. I think it's a good mix. I mean,
Okay.
your participation also in the middle, and also getting to hear everyone else. I like both.
Good, good. So we'll have the opportunities for both. Yeah. So good. So we will close today's session, and we have today a hockey match of India, and we are all looking forward to watching that. So wish us the luck for that, and good night and take care.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.